Welcome to El Grano, the American Dream, despite it all. I'm your host, Nora Vargas, and I am so excited to share this journey with you. As an immigrant, fronteriza, trailblazer, I've learned throughout the last, 30 years to really push boundaries and challenge the status quo. And so I decided to create a podcast that's going to have an opportunity to explore what it really takes to achieve the American dream with corazon and grit. And as I often say, despite it all. I'm going to have an opportunity to dive into real conversations, inspiring stories, and very useful insights is my goal. And we're going to do it in three parts. We're going to do real talk because I really want to have honest conversations that are straight from the heart, de corazón a corazón, about what it takes and how the successes and the opportunities that exist, and then also some of the challenges. And then I decided to create a No Manches segment, which is really a reflection of the fact of the times that we live in right now, where there's so many wild and unbelievable stories that are taking place that make you shake your head. You want to put that little emoji carrying it around with you everywhere because you just kind of you can't believe that this is happening. And last but not least is this concept of the Grano de Oro, which is sharing words of wisdom and tools to help you shine brighter and really think about these nuggets of knowledge that can really help you as you're moving through your journey and your trajectory. Along the way, I'm going to invite some additional trailblazers, thought leaders, and everyday heroes who are making a positive impact. And I do believe that together we're going to get real, we're going to get inspired, and we're going to be able to take action. So I want to make sure that you keep shining bright. I want to remind folks que no se dejen opacar su luz. We have to keep pushing boundaries together and always have the audacity to dream for a better world. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited about El Grano, and I'm excited about the work that we're going to be doing together. So this is our very first episode, and I thought that the real talk this time around is going to be for me to tell you a little bit about me and my why, and grab a cafecito if you're driving, wherever you are. I want to tell you a little bit about me because I really do believe that that's what's gotten me to where I am right now, and it really has created opportunities for me, right, to be able to do what I do. So I'm the oldest of four. My sisters and my brother will tell anybody cuando pueden, oh yeah, she's the oldest. And I'm very proud that I was born in Tijuana and I was raised on both sides of the border. So being fronteriza has really shaped me. It has taught me resilience, creativity, how to move between two cultures and languages. And I was very fortunate that I grew up in a family where my dad, from when I was a really, really young girl, said to me, eres ciudadana del mundo, hija, right? You're a citizen of the world. And that, to me, I think exposed me to a lot of different opportunities and to think about the world in a very different place, which I think is a huge, huge privilege. I was born to Elizabeth and Eduardo Vargas, and my mom truly was my rock. She was, and I'll tell you all about her because I do think that there's something to be said about our family, our parents, and really knowing their story allows you to really get to know your story as well, right? And so my mom was my rock. She became my angel in heaven back when I was 37. And it was very sudden, and that left a huge hole and void in my heart, and I'll tell you more about that. But I really do believe that it really shifted not only the work that I did, particularly around healthcare, because my mom ended up passing away in a hospital in Tijuana because she didn't have access to healthcare, which is what really, really, I think, moved me to run for office to the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. And I'll share more of that. but she's my angel in heaven and has been, I feel her wherever I go. And it's uh, been a privilege to be her daughter and everything that she taught me. And, I always say that the reason why I see the world a glass half full todo el tiempo es por mi mamá, because she really did see the world from a very different place. And then um, she married my dad. His name was Eduardo, and he joined her in heaven 2 years ago. And I am also going to be able to share some of this story because I think so many of us are part of that sandwich generation that are working, taking care of families, and sometimes our parents, become ill. And so, what does that look like for them? And how do you juggle? And I am very blessed that I have siblings where we were able to work through it together. But I know that for me, losing both of my parents really changed me forever. And it has always, always, I believe it also has grounded me that everything that I do, all of the work that I continue to advocate for, and my purpose is really grounded in this idea of family as the core, not only for me personally, but for our communities and who we are. So now fast forward to today, I'm 53 years old. This October, I'm going to be turning 54. Yes, I'm a Libra, and I take that very seriously. And so for the first time in a long time, I can actually say that I feel peace. And I haven't felt this way probably since I was 37, the year that I lost my mama. Back then, I really believe that I went into survival mode, and I really wanted to, continue to hustle, and I kept pushing, and I was carrying so much, right? And I really do believe that, honestly, for years, that's how I operated. It was like on automatic and go, 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 go. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that as Latinas, as women, we are taught, right, that sacrifice and we have to prove ourselves, and not necessarily, people teach us this, but it's like sort of this idea that we have to put everybody else first, right? And I think some of you may have grown up in families where, you cook the tortilla for your dad, your uncle, your tío before you give it for yourself. And I know things have changed, and I'm not judging whether it's right or wrong, but it has been really, really hard to understand this idea and this concept that you have to put your mask on first. And I don't know if this has happened to you when you're on a plane and when you hear them talk about it, and then you're like, would I really put it on myself, or would I actually put it on somebody else? And most of the time I think that I probably would put it on somebody else before I put it on me. But this is something that I'm learning or unlearning, right? I'm really learning that if I don't put that mask on myself, um, I won't be able to help others. And so I've learned a lot, and it's these leadership tools that I've learned that I want to share with all of you, and that I want to bring others along so that they can share it with you. Because honestly, one of the things that I realized and that I've continued to think about is it shouldn't be as hard for other people who come after us, right? We all know the stories about how our families and, ay, cuando yo caminaba, I used to walk really far to get to this or to that, or, no, I'm not minimizing any of that, but I don't want it to be so hard for so many, which is why I've worked so hard for the last 30 years to break down barriers. And I've had a lot of opportunities. I've seized those opportunities. I've made opportunities for myself. And then there's also a lot of lessons that I learned about things that I should have done, could have done. And people often tell you, well, coulda, shoulda, woulda. No, you don't think about that. I think it's really important to think about it. Think about, how you handled situations, what you would have been done differently. And as a lifelong learner, I think it's super, super important to do that because it's the only way you grow. So I've spent over 30 years in leadership roles across government, nonprofits, in corporate spaces. I've made history, right? Most people don't realize that I was an elected official for 12 years, but I did become the first Latina, first immigrant, and first fronteriza elected to serve as the chairwoman of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. And I'm always really proud of that work because I was able to lead the second largest county in California. By the time I left, we had an $8.53 billion budget. At the time, I also shared SANDAG, which was the San Diego Association of Governments, and to be in that role and really thinking about all the things that impact our communities and that intersectionality that exists between putting policy into action. I'm a super nerd, so that was really, really cool. But before that, I was on the community college board, and I went to Southwestern College before I transferred to the University of San Francisco. And it was pretty exciting because at the college, coming back as a trustee, I was excited to change policy that would really impact our communities. And we did that. And so it has been, being an elected official and serving my community has been truly, truly one of the biggest privileges of my life. And I've been very, very focused and very intentional about always fighting for equity and inclusion as I talk about breaking down barriers. And so, I became the first Latina executive at Planned Parenthood here in San Diego, and I had worked in the same in Orange County, and my heart and soul, I gave everything to help expand access to reproductive healthcare and healthcare as a whole for our communities, and was one of the founders of the California Latinas for Reproductive Justice, and community engagement programs, and professionalizing our promotora programs, and super exciting, cool stuff that I think I would have never been able to do if I did not look at the world from really owning who I am and my authentic self and my community, and really understanding where we come from. And, in every space that I've been in, either, commissions and boards, the California Air Resources Board, and working on policies that protect the environment, our binational community, it was really important to me. First thing I did when I became the county supervisor was declare the Tijuana River Valley a healthcare crisis, right? And so an emergency. And so all of these things that I've done, and in every space that I've done, I've always pushed for sustainability, collaboration, and opportunities for our communities that are often left behind. And so the question is, how do you do this? How do you do this when you need 5 votes? How do you do this when you need other people to support you? And so all of those experiences I've been able to leverage, and I find myself now as a global executive leader and coach, advising organizations and strategists, right? Guiding women leaders and creating systemic change, and really focused on the intersection of what public policy, corporate governance, community empowerment, building, and what does that look like? And of course, crisis management, which is huge, huge, huge. But I think what I'm really most proud of is that besides the titles and all of the roles, what matters the most to me is that I know what it's like to be the first, to walk into rooms where nobody looks like you, where you're carrying like the hopes of your family, your community on your shoulders, and that huge responsibility, right? Where you're often called, ay, esa como se cree la muy muy, right? For daring to shine. And I also know the cost of constantly living on survival mode and what that looks like. And so today, I am in a different space, and that's why now at 53, and I'm really proud of really sharing my age, because I think it's important that age is a number, but it also, there's so much wisdom and knowledge that comes. And so as I'm stepping into 54, I want to claim something different. And I call this the glow era, right? This is the season where my goal is work with all of you so we just stop surviving and start really thriving. Like where where do we give ourselves spaces so that joy, rest, and self-determination and this ability to think about you and have the audacity to do that aren't just luxuries, but now it's a necessity. And so I want you to join me as we get into this glow era so that we can really, really, as a community, thrive. And let me be clear, right? Y es ahora sí que al grano de todo esto, uh, we are really living in difficult times and we are fighting for our democracy. We're watching the rights that we fought so hard for. Um, we are seeing them be chipped away. And that's heavy. And we're seeing what's happening in our communities, and we all are doing our part in different ways. And so the question is, right? And the tension is, how do we keep showing up for our democracy and our comunidad while also fighting for ourselves? So I want you to take a moment and just think about that, right? How do we show up for our democracy and our community and our comunidad while also fighting for ourselves? How do we stop believing that lie that putting ourselves first is selfish? Because the truth is that when we thrive individually, we show up stronger for the collective. Individualism and community don't have to cancel each other out. It can actually feed off of each other. And so I want to explore that more, and I want us to embrace it. And so I'm excited about what this is and this opportunity for us to be able to engage. And so I'm really looking forward to this. Now, let's pause for our no munches moment. You know, there's always something happening that makes us say no munches, whether it's politics, pop culture, or just everyday life. And it's those things that make you shake your head and you're like, how is this happening? And so there's so many things and so many headlines or personal anecdotes that I can share here. But I think what I'll share is this. When we, as Latinas, are actually, doing our work and advocating, we follow the rules, and we're taught to make sure that, we follow process and we go from one place to another. Like we pride ourselves, right, in based on who we are and how we grew up in doing the right thing. And I think most of us, whether you are in politics, nonprofits, corporations, advocacy, I think we all right now are at awe. I mean, I wake up every day thinking, no manches, like what else is going to be in the news, right? And what we have to figure out is, how do we stop letting all of this just come at us at all times, right? And so for this segment of No Manches, what I'll say to you is that one of the tools that I'm using is really focusing on only watching news for a short amount of time. Because yes, that's a privilege, but your mental health is super important. And when every minute of the day we're saying things like no manches no puede ser, no manches no puede ser, all of that you're absorbing and you're taking in. And so what I would say is, look for the happy dogs, look for the happy cats, look for the things that bring you joy within social media. And yes, be informed, but also at the same time protect yourself from all of the misinformation that is coming at us. And so it's important that we do that we really think about, what is coming at us, who's sharing this information, and then making sure that we create a filter. So we're like, no, this is what I want to know, I want to be informed, but this is it. I'm moving on. And for today's segment of the Grano de Oro, what I would say your golden nugget, right, is that I think it's to remind us that surviving isn't enough, that thriving is revolutionary, that rest, joy, and self-determination and autonomy are not luxuries, right? That you can really, really think about what this looks like. And when we claim it, we don't just help ourselves, but we make our community stronger. And sometimes that's tough, right? To really take a minute to just step aside and say, you know what? And I know some of you do this, right? Where you get home from work, if you don't have the ability to commute, to work from home, right? You get home and you park your car in the garage, and then you just sit there, right? And so you sit there. I know that I did that for many years, right? Before you go in and you have to feed everybody and do all the things that you have to do, you just kind of like take a deep breath. And so how we do this looks different for everybody, but I really do believe that that's what we have to do. And we have to start thinking about it as something revolutionary versus something that is selfish. And so I invite you to find ways where every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever works for you, whether it's dancing, whether it's when you're in your car, just taking a deep breath, meditation, whatever that looks like for you, take that minute and that time to really do something that's revolutionary, and that is find a way to have rest and joy for yourself. And so I hope that you have enjoyed today, that you join me as we're having these conversations, and that you take these nuggets of information with you, and we really think about where we're at and what we're doing. And so this season, we're going to get to El Grano, about democracy, cultura, familia, leadership, and yes, about ourselves and what it takes to live the American dream despite it all. So I would love to know, what does your glow era look like for you? I want you to share it with me using the hashtag #MyGlowEra so we can celebrate together. And remember that you don't need permission from anyone to shine. This is your American dream, and do it with corazón and grit despite it all. This is your glow era, and I'm looking forward to our journey together.